Okay, quick video for myself, Harvey Goldman. No cuts, no edits, no filters, and no hair. So today's video, I am on a holiday park in the middle of nowhere, um, waiting to do a gig. So I thought I'd knock out a video. There you go. So these are the top 10 habits that made me poor, and also how I stopped. So I wasn't born broke. I made myself poor through 10 daily decisions that I thought were harmless. Each one, in fact, quietly chipped away at my freedom, also my future, and even more so, my finances. So, this is basically a brutally honest breakdown of the habits that kept me poor and exactly what I did to stop the cycle. So, if you're feeling stuck, you're overwhelmed, or like you never quite catch up with your finances, one or more of these might well be the reason. So, let's dive into it. So from the off, I used to treat my paycheck like it was a lottery win, whether it was weekly pay from Tesco's where I worked at the time, or it was monthly pay for my first real office job. I used to spunk that money the second it came in. Basically, I'd get paid, I'd blow it within days. There was no budgeting, there was no control, there was just senseless gratification and spend, spend, spend. So I also swapped that mindset eventually for the 48-hour rule. So that's to say that if you don't spend anything over £20 without sitting on it for at least 48 hours. It's been a hard one to adopt. I do still break that from time to time, but I am generally better with that now. I tend to leave things at least 24 hours, if not a bit longer, if they're big purchases. So I had no emergency fund. So every problem that came up was a crisis. Whether it was a parking ticket, whether it was a boiler repair, even when one Christmas my fridge broke, all of these were absolute nightmares and they sent me into overdrafts. So I ended up building a £500 buffer first of all, then I built that to 1,000, and gradually that went up and up and up. And now I've got a proper emergency fund. So that alone managed my stress levels overnight. Another big one is that I ate convenience, not food. And there's a massive difference between the two. So meal deals, takeaways, late night Tesco runs, all of it destroyed my budget. All of it. Planning 3 cheap meals a day saved me actually over £200 a month when I first started doing it. And now I do supermarket runs for the yellow labels and orange labels, and that saves me even more. I guess the next one is that I treated debt like monopoly money. Um, it's just a credit card. That was what I used to tell myself. And, yeah, that £300 that I borrowed cost me about 500 or 600 by the time I paid it off. So now, if I can't afford it in cash or I can't buy it at least 4 or 5 times over, I simply don't touch it. That's a rule that I have stuck with. Another one is that I said yes to every social invite. Nights out that I didn't really want to go to, drinks that I couldn't barely afford. It was just not to look skint, just to try and be part of something. I've learned basically to avoid that now. I've learned to say, no, not this time, not my scene. I mean, I'm famously teetotal anyway, so that's the biggest get out clause you can get. And it saves my bank balance, it saves my sanity, and I probably save about 3 grand a year at least not drinking, let alone not smoking. I waited to feel motivated to fix things, and this was a big one because I thought I needed to feel inspired to start. Whereas that's rubbish. Poor people wait, rich people act. So I started by automating small wins, whether it's £5 a week into a monthly savings pot, or whether it's reviewing bills monthly to try and save money, whatever it might be. Another big one is that I had no clue what my bills actually cost. It wasn't itemized. This part of my life was just left to chance. I couldn't even tell you what my monthly outgoings were. And guess what? That's how the energy firms rinsed me every single time. So now I track everything. I use a Google Sheet. I review it really sort of periodically, about every 3 months. And that's kind of good enough for me at the moment. Another one, this is massive as well, is that I bought cheap and I bought it twice. And again, famously, this happened with my kids' school shoes. You buy cheap school shoes, they go through them in 2 or 3 weeks, and then you buy another cheap pair and another cheap pair, and it just spirals. It just goes on and on and on. You're better off just buying a nice pair of Clarks. They'll set you back a bit more, but you won't be buying any more for 12 months. So pound shop tat, stuff like that, that breaks after a month. It's not frugal, it's just shit, for want of a better expression. It's expensive in the long run. So now I use the cost per use rule. If I buy a pair of boots for £100 and I wear them 100 times, then that's £1 per use. Clever way to think about it. So I followed broke people's advice. Now, obviously, mates in overdrafts telling me what I should be buying, what I should do, things like buying cars on finance and so on. None of that was frugal. So now you've just got to ask yourself, what would you swap back? Would you swap bank balances with this person? So if not, don't listen. And I guess the biggest one is that I thought money stuff was for rich people. So things like budgeting, things like investments, things like investment tracking. So the perception is that obviously all of that is largely for accountants, it's for millionaires, it's for financial gurus and so on. It turns out it's not, but it is probably the key as to how one day you may become one. And that's, I think, an important distinction to make. So I guess the payoff here is that these habits didn't just make me poor, they made me anxious, they made me resentful, they made me stuck. Changing them wasn't quick. It was pretty simple, but it wasn't quick. Every one that I dropped made a little room for something a bit better. So if any of these habits feel familiar, don't beat yourself up, but don't ignore them either. They're not going to go away on their own, as I found out, much to my chagrin. You stop being poor the moment you stop thinking like a poor person. So look, YouTube is going to put another video up there. Like, follow, subscribe, ring the bell, all that jazz. I've got a gig to do at a holiday park, and yeah, better get to it. Goldman, peace out.